Friends, rejection is often very hard and hurtful, but the truth is, it is a gift because it isn't the end of your story. It's a plot twist. Today, it's your birthday. Not sure what that means? Let us introduce you to this powerful concept and our community. We are Helene and Christina, and our mission is to empower, teach, and remind women to celebrate themselves. Combined, we have over 36 years experience as therapists in private practice. Today, though, we come to you not as your therapists, but rather two women in this life stage with you, your friends. Our podcast promises to talk about the hard or uncomfortable topics in a way to empower you, laugh along the way as part of healing, and find joy. What sets us apart? We leave you with gifts each and every episode.
Now that we're friends, let's make this official. We would love to help start your Thursday mornings, so make sure you follow the show wherever you listen and sign up for our free newsletter at yourbirthdaypodcast.com to receive the episode in your inbox weekly. Welcome back, friends. And if you're new to the party, we are thrilled you joined us today. Today, we're talking about the gifts from rejection. Stay with us, friends. We're not trying to sprinkle sugar on shit or throw out some toxic positivity. Let's be real. We have all experienced rejection, whether within your family, a job, a relationship. We've all been there. The initial sting can be brutal, gut-wrenching, and when that dust and the possible grief settles, there may be gifts. We're going to go find them. So friends, grab your beverage of choice, get ready, text your friend circle. Today's episode is necessary. Our hope is that it moves you, shakes you up a bit, and opens your eyes to something or things unexpected. The truth is, friends, rejection isn't rejection. It's a redirect. It's not, you're not enough. It's often, this path isn't for you. Rejection is information, not identity. Rejection is clarity, even when it feels like loss. So let's get started.
I love this. I feel like rejection has been a theme of my life, so to speak.
Oh,
Not in a bad way. I mean, because I
okay.
don't see rejection as bad. I see rejection as exactly what you said. Like it's a path to a new way,
Yeah.
right? That wasn't meant for you. Here's what is meant for you. And I think, one of my favorite phrases is when one door closes, another one opens.
Right.
And so, I can be very bullheaded. I can be very determined if you haven't figured that out. And sometimes, thanks to the ADHD, I don't stop and think. And so I often need doors closed in my face to be like, oh, that's not where you were supposed to be.
To give you the pause.
Yes, absolutely. So I have two great quote unquote rejection stories.
Ooh.
One was in grad school, my comprehensive exams, I failed them, although I will tell you I didn't really fail them, but my school made an error. Anyway, with that said, it put me behind a year for their mistake, and I had to take a year pause. And when I did that, I ended up going to Florida for a year and
Oh.
practicing neuropsychology. So brain injuries, Alzheimer's, dementia, with a psychologist in Fort Myers who has now passed away. But while I was there for a year, I met my husband. Yeah. So that was a great rejection, right?
It was a rejection and an invitation.
It was. It was a rejection that turned into an invitation. Yeah. So I went down there thinking I was going to fall in love with neuropsych. I mean, brain injuries fascinated me. I've always been intrigued by medicine, but chemistry, my brain just could not figure out. So I knew I was not going to medical school.
Right.
But so I thought this was a way to be a part of medicine because I was fascinated by the brain, but it wasn't med school, right?
Right.
So yeah, but Florida took me to Ethan.
I know when I think about rejection, and I think about the story, like since I was 15, I always wanted to go into family law, which is so interesting that you do that work here. And I'll never
Did
forget,
too.
it was my junior year of college. I had all of the law school applications. I did the Kaplan for the LSAT, all the stuff. I even left the Florida Georgia game early in Jacksonville to come home and start filling it out. And for me, at that life stage, I thought I'm going to be really bold and see if I can make an appointment with the dean of the law school. And this was a long time ago. So be able to have access to her, I doubt could happen today. I don't know. But there I was in her office. I'll never forget the big brown desk. And she said to me, "Why do you want to be an attorney?" Tell me everything. And I did. I talked, I said everything. And at the very end, she paused and she said, "You don't want to be an attorney." And I was like, "What? You didn't listen to me." And she goes, "Don't send me in your application. You want to be a therapist. You want to work with systems. You want to work with relationships. You don't want to be in a courtroom. Do not send me your application and think about if you even want to apply to law school." And I said, "Wait, can I say that all over again?" She goes, "Nope, I heard everything I needed to say." So it felt like such a rejection to a dream. And now I'm so grateful for her.
Right, it was wisdom.
Yes.
It was total wisdom.
Yeah.
And then my other rejection was my grad school screwing up again, which this
Oh,
is probably why they don't exist anymore. The problem was my grad school was a private school, it was amazing, and then it was bought out by Argosy, which was a nightmare.
mm,
Once Argosy took over, it was a shit show.
mm.
So, anyway, and at this point I was, like, pretty much done, so I had to ride the shit show. I couldn't, like, go to a
You couldn't
different
get
grad
off the
school.
surfboard of it, right?
No, but they didn't check the right boxes on their portion of my applications for internship. Yeah. Oh my gosh, both of these are major. Like, my dad was like, "We're hiring an attorney." I was like, "No, we're not."
These
Like,
are
they
big
were
ones, guys.
big mistakes.
Yeah.
Big mistakes, right? But I was like, "I just need my fucking degree." Like, that's what I need.
Right.
And so anyway, by the time I had to, like, reapply to all these different programs, at that time, like, my top 5 were not even possibilities. So
Oh.
my choice was either delay another year so I could apply to those or find something that's gonna fill my degree and get me my doctorate and a license. So I
Mhm.
ended up applying to a newer position that came out later in Chicago, which was it was a phenomenal internship, let me just say that. But while I was there, I met one of my best friends to this day, Lindsay.
So these things that felt like rejections,
I
not
was
anything really,
devastated for both.
but they brought you relationships, connection, and they brought you family because
2 of
both
the
of these.
greatest gifts in my life, yeah,
Ah,
as far as people, absolutely. Isn't
yeah.
that so cool?
It is so cool, and I love the thing about all 3 of these stories for our audience is that you may have a strong desire or a knowing of what you want, and sometimes when you have a pause or what feels like a rejection, it can actually bring you those tremendous gifts that you never would have even known about.
Yeah, yeah. I remember talking with my mom about her first marriage and her divorce was so devastating for her.
Yeah.
Absolutely devastating for her. Like, she was still very madly in love with him. He came out and shared that he was gay, and
Mm,
clearly that ended the marriage.
right.
But her heartbreak lasted years and years and years.
Sure.
And I remember saying to her, I was like in my early 20s. I said,
Mhm.
"Do you ever think about what your life would have been like if you had stayed with him
Mm,
and, he hadn't been gay? Do you think
right.
about that?" And she goes, "Yeah, I used to all the time." I said, "Look at it now."
Mm,
I said, "Look at how your life has turned out and look how differently his life has turned out.
right.
What life would you have wanted?"
Oh,
And she goes, "Oh my gosh, hands down my life." Like, she didn't even have to pause.
wow. So through this, I guess what probably felt like a rejection.
It was a
They were
huge rejection for her.
Yeah, they behind the curtain of that was a beautiful life that she never would have experienced or met or created if that
Right.
hadn't happened.
And most importantly, I wouldn't be here.
I know.
So there we go. But, I said to her, I said, like, he had an okay life. It wasn't, but my parents were living a great life.
Right.
We were living an amazing life. And I said, and, she and my dad had created that. Like, they had worked their freaking asses off to create an incredible life for themselves. And I said, you literally, your greatest worry is, will your husband get pissed over your credit card? Which was
Right.
never much. It was like $800, right?
Right.
But I was like, that's your greatest, issue in life. At that time in our life. But,
Right.
so we just kind of talked through it. And I use that example with women all the time going through divorce and feeling rejected, or women who are cheated on, or things like that. I say, you can choose
Yes.
to see this as the ultimate rejection and be the shattered egg.
Right.
Or you can choose to see this as a gift of freedom.
Right.
And use it as your launching pad of, like, how do you intentionally want to live your life now?
Right. It's almost like, and you know me, because I know we've talked about this before. Like, I always get that visualization of like Dorothy in the Yellow Brick Road, right? When there's that part in the movie where like she has to choose to go one way or the other, that like when rejection happens and you pause, you have a moment to get clarity and connection with yourself so you can trust yourself more and keep saying yes to you, not no to the part that was either hurtful or not aligned or not truthful.
Right.
But get to have an opportunity to say yes to me, yes to my growth, yes
Yeah.
to my life mission. Yeah.
And when I think too, like, of jobs maybe I didn't get that I thought I really wanted and somebody else got, and then I hear about them in that position and I'm like, oh my gosh. I mean, for me and my religious beliefs, I'm like, thank you, God, for protecting me.
Right. You
Thank you,
saved
God,
me.
for steering me somewhere different.
Yeah.
One of them was a position I wanted so bad, so bad with the psychology practice. I wanted it so bad.
Yeah.
And like a couple years later, he ended up getting his license revoked and fraud. And I was like, oh, thank you.
Right. Thank you
That saved me so much.
so much. And I think what you're saying is like rejection can also build resilience.
100%.
Right.
I mean, think about, I also love, I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of our audience knows Garth Brooks, right? Like, we're of that generation.
Yep.
And I love his song, Sometimes I Thank God for Unanswered Prayers. And he talks about like his high school girlfriend and how it didn't work out and how he's so grateful for the wife that he has. And in the song, and I know like he has an interesting love story and how he and Trisha connected. But anyway, I think about that all the time. When you think past relationships that just didn't work out.
Right.
And I look at myself, like every guy I dated, except one, was a really good guy. We were just not the right fit.
Right. Same.
Like, all great people.
Yeah.
And, historically, after me, literally every guy I dated from high school on, the next woman he dated, he married.
They were ready or
I prepped them. I prepped them.
I got them ready.
I
taught them
prepared them
maybe
for
what they
marriage.
needed.
I firmly
Yeah.
give myself that credit. Yeah. And I remember dating Ethan and I told him, I was like, look, if this doesn't work out, I promise
You'll be
you,
married.
we'll be the one you marry. And he goes, why? And I go, because it's been every guy I've dated. And he goes, okay, thanks, maybe. Because it was true.
It is. Right. So like rejection, I think also what I'm hearing you say is like it reroutes you to maybe something better. Like
100%. If you look for it, you have to look for it.
right.
You have to look for it. Like, if you assume that rejection equals failure and I suck and I'm a terrible person,
Right.
then you're going to live in that mindset and be on that hamster wheel. If you
Absolutely.
look at it and go, that wasn't my opportunity, there's something else out there for me, I just have to find it,
Right.
and treat it as, a scavenger hunt to find where you're really supposed to be, then it
Yeah.
becomes a joyful experience, it becomes a positive. Like, I'm not doubting that initial sting. I will tell you,
Sure.
every rejection, like, fucking hurt and I cried.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
I was able to reset it, not that day, maybe
Right.
not that week, but slowly over time and with enough support and conversations to say it wasn't mine.
Right. It reminds me of, I remember, and this was like, back in the day, I applied for a job. I interviewed. I was out of grad school, relocated to Fort Myers with Ryan. And the job was definitely not something I wanted, but I also needed to get a job. And it was going to be in Naples, which at that point was going to be a pretty far drive. And I remember the person, they actually sent me a letter of rejection. It wasn't like on letterhead, it was like handwritten. So when I look back now, it's very sweet. But I remember the gentleman said, like, thank you for interviewing. They interviewed like 24 candidates. I was actually number two, but I'm sorry we chose to go another way. If you ever need like a letter of recommendation, like I would definitely cheerlead you on. But I was so stuck on sorry, no thank you. Like, that's
Right.
all I could see in that initial like you're talking about, rather than Ryan, who wasn't in it emotionally because he wasn't going through it. He was cheerleading me on, said,
Mhm.
wait a minute, like out of 24 people, and you've only been out of grad school like 6 months, you were number two, Helene. Like, I couldn't see past the rest of the message because I did have that oomph. And then as time got further away, like you shared, the gift is the hindsight that it really was not a great fit for me. It was far away. The cost that it would have been for gas would have been like so much my paycheck. But I had to like wait for that dust to settle to recognize the gift. So again, we're not trying to give a bunch of like toxic positivity that like rejection is all great. We recognize the initial gut wrenching hurt or
And you
shock.
have to sit with it. You
Yeah.
have to let
Yeah.
yourself feel it. Like, you can't just come out happy
No.
Pollyanna. Like, it I will say it, it fucking hurts. Heart
Mm.
shatters, hard to breathe,
Right.
tears sitting in the back of your throat,
Sure.
fighting that feeling of failure. It just feels horrid.
Right.
Absolutely. You don't get into the college you want. I mean,
Mhm.
how many times do we walk through that, or grad school or med school or law school? I mean,
Yeah.
that hurts. That hurts intensely. When you've set your dreams on a particular place and, like, just created these scenarios in your head of what it would look like to walk on that campus or study under this professor or do this or that, and then to be told no
Right.
hurts immensely.
Well, and I think you bring up a great point. Why rejection feels personal, but it isn't. I think we, or my experiences in talking with other people, we make it personal, but it may not be. We put the I in front of it, right? Like we give the meaning to it. I wasn't chosen. Then we might go to that snowball because I wasn't good enough, or I was replaceable, or
Well,
I
I
really
think
thought I
oftentimes it's
yeah.
because we opened ourselves up to vulnerability, right? Whether
Mhm.
it be a job or a relationship or a situation, we put ourselves out there in a vulnerable position and we're hyper focused on protecting ourselves, as we should be. It's a healthy coping mechanism, depending on how much you
Sure.
do of it. But with that said, when you make yourself vulnerable, there's also this trust with the other person, the company, the people, the situation,
Mhm.
that you're going to be honored. And then you're not. So
Right.
it does feel personal. It does hurt to our core. And I think if you go into an interview not seeing it that way, like, then
Mm,
you're going to half ass your interview. You're not going to be passionate about it. So
mm.
that passion comes with vulnerability, and nobody likes to be vulnerable and hurt.
Right. And sometimes, like, I'll even see with couples, like, let me think on the top of my head. Like if someone goes to like, I don't know, make a move or like just put out there, like, you know what I recognize? Like our level of physical intimacy has been less in the last few months. And I recognize so much that I miss that part of it. I miss you. I miss us. That it's an invitation for connection. But the fear of the rejection often will hold people back from expressing what they
Oh,
want.
absolutely.
So rather than seeing the fear of rejection could absolutely happen, but it could also open up experience of connection, understanding, visibility, whether it's in a relationship or going to your employer and saying,
Mhm,
when you go for like a raise or you're selling yourself, like
mhm.
you have to be aware that being vulnerable can often invite one of maybe two things to happen, but don't let it stop you then using your voice.
100%. I think, you know, I mean, that's part of creating a relationship is seeing if you can be vulnerable with that person.
Yeah.
Is it safe? And I think that goes back to our episode with Dr. Strepfeller
Yeah.
about, understanding and knowing your intimacy and what do you like and not like, and having those vulnerable conversations. And you may be met with somebody who says, I'm not comfortable with that. I can't give that to you.
Right.
But then you guys need to be open to exploring other options of like, what can you and your partner do that might be just as satisfying, or maybe you learn that it's more satisfying, right? Like when one
Yep.
door closes, another one opens type thing.
Absolutely.
So, it isn't just in our professional life, it's also in our personal, intimate life. And I think it's also with friendships. Like, how many times do we think we're good friends with somebody and then they just kind of ghost us or space us,
Mhm.
and we feel this huge rejection and hurt.
Right.
And here's what I'm here to tell you: when that happens, at least 95% of the time, it's not about you.
Right.
It's about them. Something triggered them, something made them uncomfortable, something, they didn't want to get personal, whatever. It isn't you. Breathe it out, move on. And, again, feel that hurt, let yourself own it, but then move on and be comfortable in your own skin. And, when I've been rejected in social relationships, the interesting thing is oftentimes they've come back and needed me for something. And then I have in that moment, I can either be like not available because I'm good and happy that that relationship is gone,
Right.
or I can help and choose to see what happens.
Right. And I think when that happens in social relationships, it's so funny because as therapists, we often encourage, cheerlead, educate people to start your sentences, your connection, your communication with I. And it's almost like in this situation, if a rejection either happens or feels like it's happening, we're inviting you to not just take full ownership and just be aware of the situation. It's not always an I, it's when we make it personal. So it's like everything going and going against what we often teach, I think.
Well, it's not about you. I mean,
Right.
that's what I tell people all the time. It's not about you.
Mhm.
Rejection, more often than not, is not about you. It's about that other person, the company, whatever it may be. It's not you. But the reality is, it's not going to work for you
Right.
because that's not your place. That's not your partner. That's not your relationship. That's not what you're supposed to be doing. And so when you can take the me out of it
Mhm.
and realize it wasn't mine, it wasn't my space, it wasn't my place, it wasn't my person,
Mhm. Yeah.
then all of a sudden you're free to find what is yours.
And it reminds me of that really powerful statement that if you're not familiar with Brene Brown, put this in your back pocket, friends. It's the story I'm telling myself.
Mm.
It's being aware that the story that I'm telling myself is that they don't want to be friends with me because of something I did. The
Mhm.
story I'm telling myself is that my partner rejected me last night because they're not finding me attractive anymore. So it's being mindful of the story. And we're inviting you to be aware most often it's a story coming from you And there's
Mhm.
so many other things that you're not even aware of.
Right.
Yeah.
And, the I I always say, like, you never know what's going on in somebody else's brain, right? What's their experience? Or, you know, my one of my favorite stories is when you see somebody driving mindlessly. I mean, I can remember when my mom was dying, I probably made so many freaking errors in driving.
Mhm.
I mean, so many because my mind was everywhere but on the road.
Right.
And so, when somebody accidentally turns in front of me or a car went through a red light. I mean, thankfully nobody hurt in those situations, but literally those happened this week
Mhm.
watching it. And I was like, "Ugh, I hope whatever is going on in your life
Mhm.
is gonna, you're gonna find answers, solutions, and a clearer mind." That was my thought.
Right.
And I just prayed for them because that's what I could do in that moment. Cause we've all been there. And instead of like getting angry and losing it and like honking my horn for 10 minutes,
Mhm.
I thought, gosh,
Mhm.
you've got a lot on your plate, friend.
Right, you were able to have empathy.
I was. And
Yep.
not it wasn't about me.
Right.
It wasn't about me. But I think people even feel rejection when driving. Like if somebody doesn't let them in or, you know, somebody's going too slow or something like that. It feels like so deeply personal. And I can 100% promise you it's never about you.
That's a great example because I could actually picture, like, if you're driving on the road and, like, suddenly, horrible, but, like, an ambulance comes and everyone's getting over and, like, the person will not let you in, and it's like, "Do they not see me? Why do they not wanna let me in?" Like, again, we don't know. Are they a new driver? Are they scared to let you in? Like, there's so many other things like you
Right.
said, but yes. Yeah.
And so instead of getting pissed and flicking them off like I want to do, I
Right.
reframe it and go, wow, if
Mhm.
you're, and if you can see like that, that asshole face, right? Well, you can
Mhm.
see that. I think, wow, life might be really hard that you have to be so pushy and egotistical to prove your way on the road. That must be
That's
a hard life.
I love that reframe. I love that. It's
And then I keep my
yeah.
power and they look like the asshole they are.
And you protect your own peace.
Mhm. So I think sometimes rejection allows you to keep your peace
Mm.
quite often and may even give you peace. I remember a family member very close to me, had worked in the church for many, many, many years. And she got terminated from a job in a church. And it was such a shock because every church she worked at, like, adored her, to say the
Right.
least. Like, yeah. And how could you not? Like, she is honestly one of the kindest humans on this earth.
Right.
And she just was so hurt and shocked
Mm.
and ended up changing to a job in corporate America.
Mm.
And I can't tell you how many times we've talked about what a gift, because that church was such a toxic environment
Right.
that was not focused on what she believed was the truth around church.
Mm.
And she loves her job, like, absolutely loves her job. She
Right.
moved up the ladder so fast and, like, she loves it.
Right. So when it first happened to like now, it would probably feel crazy, but it's like, thank you for firing me. Thank
Yeah,
you for letting me have the life that I have now. Right.
100%. 100%. And she's like, "The best thing is I get Sundays off. I don't work Sundays."
Oh.
She's like, "I don't work Saturdays." Like, she's able to really appreciate the freedom that it's given her.
Which she wasn't even fully, maybe, perhaps aware
Aware.
that she wanted or need. Right. Right.
Mhm.
So I think we need to package up really quick, maybe some suggested ways to heal from rejection. I think we've talked about them, but maybe we can sprinkle a little bit of them. Like,
I think the key is truly reframing.
oof, yeah,
You know, the first step, as we've said all along, is definitely letting yourself, like, feel your feelings, own your
yeah,
feelings, sit with them, acknowledge them, right? Like, that was
yep,
your
yeah.
experience.
Don't
We
push
don't
them
want to
away.
minimize that. But then it's reframing. Like, it isn't, as we said before, it isn't about you.
Right.
It is something that happened. It's an event.
Yeah.
It's not your identity.
Mhm.
And then what gifts are in this closed door? Where are you supposed to go? What is going to clear the path forward? What is meant to be yours?
And I
And
think the
then,
last one is also like turning inward
mhm,
instead of turning against yourself. So
yeah,
don't use the rejection as a reason to self criticize because often we want an answer for things. And as hard as it is, Christine and I are probably both going to tell you sometimes there are some things that happen there is no answer to. And that's uncomfortable. So if it's one of those spaces, be mindful that you're not going inwards and taking the responsibility and then shaming or self criticizing yourself.
yeah.
So being mindful that if you're going inward, how you talk to yourself. Christina and I are huge advocates of
Mhm,
talking to yourself gently, kindly, respectfully, lovingly.
100%.
Yeah.
Friends, rejection is often very hard and hurtful, but the truth is, it is a gift
Mm.
because it isn't the end of your story. It's a plot twist. And if you love to read, plot twists are amazing because
Mm.
they lead to a better chapter and an exciting moment in the book. You are absolutely not defined by what didn't choose you.
Mm.
You are defined by what you choose next. We would love to learn what you choose and how life has evolved in positive ways through rejection. Hang out with us on social media during the week and share. If this episode resonated with you and you are in the season of wanting to explore what's next, consider investing in yourself by working through our downloadable course called Rediscovering You. And this is a great one after rejection, which you
Yep.
can find on our website, yourbirthdaypodcast.com. Until next week, friends, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.